having Al Michaels do the games gives it a level of familiarity and a different feel. No matter how bad the game is, you still hear Al, and it makes you think, which is why they got him to do the games. It makes you think it's a big deal, even if it is the 2-7 Panthers and the 4-5 Falcons. And look, for the Falcons, it is a big deal because they're tied for first place with the Buccaneers in the NFC South, and the Buccaneers have their hands full this weekend in Germany with the Seahawks. I mean, the Falcons could end up one game ahead in this thing. There's no guarantee that the Buccaneers are going to win this division. The Falcons gave them everything they can handle. They play again later this year.
Right.
And the Falcons could be the team that, I say this all the time, we get around Thanksgiving, team around 500 finds the gas pedal and off it goes. They got Cordarrelle Patterson back. He scored a couple of touchdowns. They have that very diverse running game. Marcus Mariota has settled in nicely. They've won 4 games.
Yeah.
I mean, they somehow they've won 4 out of 9 games. This was a team we were ready to discard. So, this is an opportunity again to get a close look at a potential playoff team. Not the Panthers at this point, but the Falcons.
Yeah. The Panther. I mean, the Falcons, there's a lot of things to respect about the Falcons. I think that's, where I go right off the bat. Arthur Smith, the job he's doing here, the second year in a row, where, again, I think Atlanta's in the process of, slowly building a team. Last year was kind of the start of the rebuild, even though they didn't want to say those words or anything like that. But they went, 7-10 and exceeded our expectations. Gosh, this year, I thought it might be worse, really. Especially with Matt Ryan out the door. They've done an incredible job. Again, I think it's another team, Mike, where we look at to go, they know what they are, and then they play within the confines of what their team is. And they don't try to pretend on a given week that they can do something that they know they can't. So the formula is pretty tried and true. It's almost a poor man's version of the New York Giants to a degree, right? It really is. And then Arthur Smith, like Dayball's got a great – he's been mostly conservative. Let's punt the ball out. Let's play defense. We'll run the ball. We'll wait for you to make a mistake. They've been playing that game, and then occasionally, okay, now's the time to go to 4th and 1. Here we go. Let's do it. But, I got a lot of respect for the way he coaches. There's some Vrabel in him. You see it. And I think that rubs off on their football team and their attitude, and that's where I, respect Atlanta, and they don't back down from a fight from anyone.
Well, he came from Vrabel. He learned from Vrabel. That's how he got the job, being the offensive coordinator of the Tennessee Titans. And I'm just peeking ahead a little bit on this Falcons schedule, just to try to get an understanding of how
interesting, right?
Get down the stretch. They got the Bears at home. That's a potentially winnable game for them. The Bears have 3 wins. The Bears aren't great, although the Bears are getting better as they figure out how to use Justin Fields.
Right.
They go to Washington the weekend of Thanksgiving, Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern. The Steelers come to town.
Man.
That's not now, in past years, you'd say Steelers, Falcons, the Steelers win this one easily. And there's been some barn burners between the Steelers and Falcons over the years.
That's
but
4
this
games
is one the
here,
Falcons
including
could win.
Tonight, where you go, they could win all 4, really. They could.
7-6 or 8-5. They could be 8-5 when they hit their Week 14 bye. And then they go to the Saints. Now they have a tough one against the Ravens, Week 17. The Cardinals come to town. That was Week 16 at Ravens. Cardinals come to town Week 17. Who knows what you're going to have with Arizona. And then, Chris, Buccaneers at Falcons, Week 18. That could be the Sunday night game. That could be because the NFL always looks for the playoff play-in game.
Right.
That has maximum relevance no matter what happens in any of the other games that are played that weekend. What's the one game with winning you're in, losing you go home? That's the ideal setting.
Right.
It doesn't happen all the time, but that's and we've seen it. And
Last
usually
year,
it happens
Chargers,
when
Raiders.
Right, and it happens usually, and now that was for a wild card.
Yeah.
And there was a way they both could have gotten in. Remember, if they had tied, they both would have gotten in.
Right.
But it did have a lot of different tentacles. But to have the classic, you win the division or you're done, you got to have 2 teams from a bad division.
Yeah.
And so that's what we may have. We may have the Bucs, Falcons, the winner goes, the loser stays. And I doubt that either of them will have it clinched by then. But if either team is going to, maybe it will be the Falcons because their schedule is very manageable until we get to that Week 16 game at Baltimore.
Yeah, it is manageable, but we also have to remember that they are the Falcons, and that even though when we look at it and go, these aren't that bad, we got to go, every game's going to be somewhat of a dogfight for them. They're not the type of team that's going to blow anybody out. That's for sure, for the way they play. They're kind of one of those teams that, again, tonight, if we get – I would be shocked if it went blowout again tonight like it did. How the game went off the rails in the fourth quarter, 10 days ago. I don't think that's going to happen. I think this goes back down into the reality of what these two teams are here. They're not going to make some of the mistakes they did at the end of that football game defensively to where, this is the typical Falcons game is they want it to be in 2017, 23-17. They want to play that type of game. If it becomes a shootout and a barn burner, they're not really built for that, more times than not. That's not what they want to do. They want to play like we were just talking about, kind of Mike Vrabel type of football. That's what they are. Dean Pease, defensive coordinator, he was there with Mike Vrabel too. So I think there's a lot of carryover in the style of football play. And then they got some splash young guys here, Mike, that are worth watching too. That'll be fun. I mean, Kyle Pitts, we know what he is. It's kind of on and off as far as how they feature him, the Drake London guys. So, we'll see where it goes with the Falcons tonight. But that's kind of the game I envision, at least with these two tonight.
It's been more off than on with Kyle Pitts. Yeah. He was one of the guys that we had circled as a breakout player. Everybody was on Kyle Pitts because he had 1,000 receiving yards last year. It took him a while to get going, but when he got going, holy crap. He's got 23 catches, 285 yards, 2 touchdowns so far this year. Marcus Mariota has said, I can do a better job of giving Kyle Pitts more opportunities. And Pitts hasn't complained about it, but who's complained is all the fantasy owners who thought Kyle Pitts was going to be basically like having another running back or receiver on your team. It just hasn't been there from a production standpoint for Kyle Pitts. And whether it's the offense as a whole isn't creating opportunities for him or the quarterback isn't throwing it to him when he's open, who knows? But Mariota's aware of it. Everybody else is aware of it. And in prime time, maybe this is a night where Pitts shines. We see that extra little kick for these teams that are typically ignored and just thrust into the cluster of 1 o'clock Eastern games on a Sunday. This is an opportunity for them to show everyone what they can do. And surely they're aware of that. It has to give them a little bit of a lift, and maybe it gets them more determined to show off the best pieces that they have on their team.
Yeah, it is kind of surprising he hasn't been more of a focal point, especially after last year. It is, and for a team that again runs the ball the way they do, and again Arthur Smith coming from the Tennessee Titans, where his years there they use the tight end pretty well. That's where it is a little surprising, but they're not necessarily always underneath the center to run those type of play action passes. And the biggest thing I think with Kyle Pitts is he's enemy number one of the state. When you play the Atlanta Falcons, you go, wait, run game, and we can't let this guy beat us. And that's unfortunate when we don't have a great pass game anyways, so we don't have that, and then all the eggs are in, let's stop Kyle Pitts in the pass game basket, make sure we don't get mismatched there. And then there's not a lot else off of that really scares any defenses to go, wait, we got to worry about this and this here. And, every now and then we might have to leave Kyle Pitts in a spot where it's advantageous for him. They don't have to do that right now because there is not, there's still not an emergence of a big-time receiver. Drake London looks like he has a chance to be that, their first-round pick out of USC, but that's kind of been on and off like Kyle Pitts too, and probably more off than on, like you said about Pitts.
One of the big differences from the last game to this game is Cordarrelle Patterson is back.
He
had
back.
A couple of touchdowns on Sunday against the Chargers, even though he only had 44 rushing yards. But that's a difference maker. And what an amazing story that I don't think gets appreciated as much as it should. The guy comes in as kind of a project receiver, high ceiling, hadn't played a lot at Tennessee. Vikings make him a first-round pick. Great kick returner, never really becomes a great receiver in Minnesota. His contract year, he starts embracing other challenges like being a gunner on the punt team, and then he moves around in free agency, and teams start to realize, hey, well, whether it's the Raiders, the Bears, the Patriots, they start to realize.
Where did he go right after? The Bears? Was it the Bears he went to?
I think he went to the Raiders.
It was the
Raiders first.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know.
Short stint with the Raiders.
Right.
And then it was Bears, then Patriots, or Patriots and Bears, and then he lands with the Falcons. And along the way, he becomes a hell of a running back. And now that's his primary gig. When has that ever happened?
Never.
At least in the modern era of football. Back in the 50s and 60s, you just played whatever position they told you to play.
Yeah.
But you specialize. You're a one-position player. And to completely turn your back on the position that you entered the game as and become a really good performer at another position, it's amazing.
It is amazing. I mean, I don't really think that's ever, I think, is really a real thing. I don't remember that really going on in even the old days. I'm somewhat of a historian, so are you. I can't recall, like, receiver who changed to running back and then became a top-end running back. I don't remember that. But the first thing you have to start with is he's one of those guys, Mike, that we can put in the Greek god category, where when you see him, you go, oh, whoa, okay, that's why you're Cordarrelle Patterson, and I get it. There's muscles popping out of your ears, and you're a way bigger human being than I thought. That's the biggest thing. He went to the University of Tennessee with my brother when he was there, and I saw him walk out of the locker room a few times, and I was like, holy cow. I mean, he's got maybe not a Brandon Marshall-ish square shoulders to him and size to him that I don't think people realize. But, yeah, Mike, I've never seen a transformation like that where, hey, receiver who can fly and run by everybody, okay, he wasn't maybe the best at some of the nuances of the position, but wait, he's too good of an athlete? Let's start dabbling with him at running back? That's okay. He doesn't have to think a whole lot there. Just get the ball, run to the open hole. And he thrives, like not in year 2 or 3 of his career, but where are we at right now with him? Now, I haven't looked. What is he, year 10? Year 9?
Year 10.
Yeah.
2013, one of 3 first-round picks by the Vikings.
And he's thriving. He's thrived at running back in year 7, 8, 9, 10 here. And that's where it is amazing, Mike, to your point. It really is.
There have been plenty of guys who changed positions in college.
Right.
Like a Ryan Tannehill goes from receiver to quarterback. But in the NFL, the only guy I can think of that changed his primary position, and it was really irrelevant, was Devin Hester, who came in as a defensive back and never really played it, was just a great kick returner. And then they had the idea in Chicago of making him into a receiver. But never, he's not a guy that's going to run a 7 route. He's a guy that you get the... Can you imagine if they would have had a little more creativity to just get the ball in his hands, jet sweeps, like all those things we see now? That just the little touch pass or the bubble, the quick screen, all that stuff. Like why?
Yeah, those guys are just unlucky.
The guy's got the ball in his hands.
Man, I missed the era.
Field.
I missed the era of that.
Because he could have been. You get him in that setting where he's got the ball and everybody else is like, oh, where is he?
Yeah.
He proved time and again that he's incredible. But kudos to Patterson for making the transformation and those who saw it in him and fully embraced his ability to do it. And we get to watch it tonight. That's a reason to watch it tonight. Again, Bezos should be thanking us. We're giving you all the reasons why you should tune in and watch, other than because it's on TV.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.